The history of the Counter-Strike series of games contains a lot of interesting facts and events, telling in detail about which can spend not a day or two. A special place in it is occupied by things that were not conceived as such, but subsequently made such a contribution to the perception of the game as a whole that it is difficult to imagine without them. One of these things is deservedly bunny hop. Bunny hop, or jump jump, is one of the tricks in first-person shooters that allows a constantly jumping player to effectively dodge enemy fire and or move faster than without jumping. In short, this is a way of skipping around. The speed with a good BHop is much higher than when running, since the main reason for this acceleration is the use of engine weaknesses, or as in some games, due to gameplay. If we talk about bunny hop as a cost of the game engine, then it is necessary to note the complexity of its use. For beginners, it is almost impossible to take and jump. It is not for nothing that players who practice bunny hop in the game community are associated with a really high level of play or are suspected of cheating. Initially, the developers did not plan to make a jump in the gameplay. It was a software bug that needed to be fixed to achieve a more realistic game, but with the opening of the jump, the gameplay has become richer. There are new opportunities in the tactics of the game, the speed and the entertainment of computer games has increased. So for example, in a series of Quake games, which traditionally began the history of the bunny hop, since the possibility of the jump, the gameplay has changed a lot in the direction to speed up the game, and now just does not seem to be without it. Almost all first-person shooters that came out later in one way or another included the possibility of springing either because of the use of the Quake game engine or as a purposefully implemented feature of the gameplay. Obviously, in early versions of the CS up to 1.5 on the Gold Source engine, which in turn was also built on the basis of the Quake engine, BHop also took place, but not just present but existed as an integral element of physics. Bunny hop was very simple to implement and in fact was not limited in any way, which is why even a beginner could fly from one part of the map to another with incredible speed after simple intuitive machinations, which of course could not leave Counter-Strike fans indifferent, who appreciated the game for its realism in comparison with many other shooters of that time. Since version 1.6, the developers have limited the possibilities of springing, BHop in Counter-Strike has become noticeably more difficult to execute. To accelerate your character at a speed comparable to that in the previous versions of the game, it became necessary to observe more accurate timings of keystrokes, approach the process with increased care, and have a good reaction. In subsequent versions and parts of the series of games from Valve, the jump still remained, but the situation is changed in CSGO, when after one of the updates, bunny hop made much more difficult execution than before. Bunny hop still gave a boost to speed, but even with perfectly executed technique, each subsequent jump gave not so much to boost the speed, and the timings became more stringent. Then the bunny hop has earned the status of really difficult to master skill, inherent only to players with a high level of skill. The players have long and still quite steadily split in two camps. 4. Some consider it a successful gameplay element due to the ability to master and actively use the unique features of movement in the game. Against. And against. Others take the opposite position, arguing that the jump can cause an imbalance in the game, when there are experienced players who use the jump and beginners for whom it is almost impossible. Both went to meet the fans of bunny hop and in one of the updates added a console command, thanks to which all the restrictions imposed on bunny hop disappear and it becomes quite easy to jump. Despite the fact that it cannot be used in raiding games, it is actively used in other user modes and bunny hop maps, which cannot but please the fans of this important mistake for the history of CS. By the way, we have our own servers for bunny hop available 24/7, a wide variety of maps and responsive community. If you want to surprise your opponents with your non-standard approach to moving or just have a good time, be sure to come in. We will analyze in detail an example of execution of a technique that is already considered classic in the gaming environment. Analyzing such a complex topic as bunny hop, users have long started using binds that do not make bunny hop for you, but significantly amplify its implementation and are absolutely legal to use. Before you start learning, you need to set up jumps. To put a jump command on the mouse wheel, just enter the following command in the game console: bind m-wheel up, jump -wheel up, or bind m-wheel down, jump -wheel down. The vast majority jumps on the down wheel, but nothing prevents you from making the bind more convenient specifically for you, for example on the up wheel or on the side mouse buttons if any. Basically, prefer to bind jump to the mouse. If the command jump was standing in space or any other, then it would be relatively harder to guess the moment when to jump, and when you jump on the wheel, you make some jump commands that are performed one after another and the power mechanics work on the wheel. Given that the rest of your buttons are configured by default, you can start with the analysis of the technique. Hold down the W button and hold until you reach the maximum speed. Now that you have gained speed, jump on the wheel and perform the strafe jump technique. We release W immediately after the jump. After releasing W, we hold D, strafe to the right, and smoothly move the mouse to the right. As we're about to reach the ground, we release the D and stop moving the mouse to the right. Immediately upon landing, we turn the wheel. As soon as we push off from the ground, we hold A and move the mouse smoothly to the left. Then just alternate strafe right, mouse to the right, and strafe left, mouse to the left. The most common mistakes for beginners when performing BHop are in the control of the keys. After some practice, it goes away for a while. At first, BHop should be mastered out of the blue. To make it easier to remember the order of the keystrokes, write the st_gravity 500 command in the console and practice until you remember the order. Feeling that you have figured out the technique of execution, jump in standard gravity. Once you understand the principle, you can easily go to train on the maps that are provided by workshop users in both single-player and multiplayer games by calling friends or visiting servers with this mode.